All right, let's get started for part two. Today we're going to be creating the city part down here, and you get to decide how you want to make your city. To get started, we have to first of all do our land. Okay? So here's one I did the other day, and you picked up either a lighter green or a darker green. You get to decide which one you want to use. For this example, I'm going to use the darker green. So we could put it down like this, but I want it to look a little different. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be cutting kind of a curvy line towards the top here. So I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make some hills. Okay. Now I don't want to go down too far here. I just want to do just a little wave in it, a little curved line all the way across. Okay. Always take off a little at first. You can always take off a little bit more later. And I'm going to be putting that towards the bottom and checking it out. Okay? I think I like it just like that. Okay? I'm going to glue this down now. We're going to try a little bit different way of gluing this here. We're going to be using with some glue, liquid glue, and we're going to use some paint brushes to paint the glue on. So I turn my paper over, and I'm going to go right in here to the glue. Okay, so you can kind of see this right here. It can be kind of drippy if you get too much on there. So what we do is we kind of wipe it off if you have too much on this little lip here. And then we can be more careful we don't get it all over the table. And that's too why I set up this paper plate here, guys. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint this around the edges, kind of going back and forth. Okay, once you run out of glue, you just get a little bit more. The edges are the most important part when you're gluing. Okay. The middle part, so you don't have to cover all of it. You just want to kind of do like a line around it. Okay. And sometimes I do just a little bit on the inside. So go like this, that, and then maybe a few extra little spaces in the middle here. Always put your brush on the paper plate or in this area here, not on the table. We're going to turn it over and I'm going to place it right on the corners. Make sure you line it up nice and even, and then you're going to smooth it out, making sure that it's sticking. Okay. Now this glue, when dried, is very strong. Okay? And that's why we're using it for this part, because we do not want this to fall off. If this falls off, then when we get our picture back, it might not have our city on it. Okay. All right. So in my head, I was counting to 10, and I think it's ready to go. I think it's good, and it does need some time to dry, but eventually it'll be better from there. Next. All right. So in the picture of the Starry Night, there's this huge tree right here in the front called the foreground. Now I used some black on this one, and then I went over it with some oil pastels. Now this is if you want to. Okay, if you want to do this, it's kind of cool look. So I have some large black piece of paper. So what you do is you do another wavy cut, and then it comes to a point. Okay, and then I do another wavy cut on this side, and then we'll kind of check it over to see if we like it. Ah, okay. So that one's pretty tall. I think I want to shrink it a little bit or make it a little bit smaller. So I'm going to come down right down here and I'm going to make it shorter. Okay. And I think I like it kind of about right there. So the next part is I would take this and I'm going to glue it down, putting some glue on the back of it. Okay. Let me show you some other things too and how to make a house for your city. You're going to have a bin of paper. It's going to have a bunch of scraps in there. And there's a lot of shorter pieces, kind of like this. Okay. And I'm going to make a few houses, so I want a red house. So if you want it taller, you cut it a little bit longer. If you want it a little bit shorter, you kind of go about right here. So you're making squares. Okay. So I think I kind of want mine to be here. And then I like brown for the roofs. Or black looks good too, so all black and brown. So we do a square here for the roof, but then if I cut this now in half from corner to corner, watch this, I can make two roofs. So we just have to be kind of careful. Ah, look at that. now I have two triangles that work perfect on the top here as a roof. Okay. So what you do then is you definitely want to get these glued down, and you're just going to be working creating your city, and just kind of go on the edges. It doesn't take a lot of glue for this, but once it sticks, guys, it's going to be really strong and it's not coming off. Okay. And let me get that roof here too. Alright, so it's a little bit easier to go off to the side there. Okay. Just a little glue. Whoops, I have too much on there, so I'm going to wipe it on the lips here. Okay. And voila. And there we go. There's a little house. Now, it doesn't have all the details on it. So let me show you some other things that you can do to your work to kind of spice it up and give it a little bit more detail. This one, I was making different parts of the city. Maybe you want to do, a fairway or a building or a grocery store or a church. Something different, that's perfectly fine. So, here I did some black roofs. I have, Sharpie markers that you could work with if you want to do a little bit of detail work. Okay, I'll have some of these in the back. These are a little bit more fine tip, so you can kind of write on them. So I was doing a lot of doors and windows. You could kind of make some really cool windows on yours, doors. I even did this, watch, I kind of made a line in this background area here. This is kind of nice because it makes it look like there's layers and there's hills. You could draw in a road in the background here, for cars. You could even make cars out of the paper too while working. Okay. So again, it's your guys' chance to make a really cool city right here on the bottom. Another detail for you guys. This is kind of cool. So let's say you didn't do enough work on the top, or you want to add some details with some of these oil crayons. You can actually work a little bit on top of it from last time. Even adding more of those dashes in there if you didn't quite get it all filled up. And in this case, I used a little bit of pink, and you could even, look at that, you can add a little purple into it as well to add some fine details. And before you finish today, and as you finish up, I do want you to write your name somewhere up here. I like to do it on the hills, but you could do it on the side over here. Put your name somewhere in the artwork. Alright guys, can't wait to see how you do.